Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Well, what's new with you?
I mean, I don't know. We're running up on the end of April, so.
Yeah, that means the end of another school year rapidly approaching.
Yeah.
Where kids are, well, we only teach seniors, so our kids are looking forward to prom and graduation and.
Oh, it's all the things, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the things, when you're out there and you got the kids that are like showing up at people's houses to be with big signs. Hey, will you go to prom with me?
Those kind of the prom parties.
Hopefully not embarrassing themselves too badly.
Yeah, I like the ones that go on YouTube that you can see that are pretty cute. Every now and then some of them will go viral and you'll see them on the nightly news.
Right.
They are kind of cute. And those are fun, but have you ever, again, you got 3 kids. I dealt a little bit with it, but not entirely with my stepkids. But what happens when being there helping them with getting going with the relationship it can be fun or entertaining. But you ever been there? Have your kids come to you when it was at the end when whoever they liked broke up with them?
So, I feel like particularly with my girls, it was harder, right?
Okay.
My son mostly just moved on. But particularly my youngest definitely has had some experiences that have not been awesome.
Okay.
And that have resulted in, broken heart temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I haven't had a first date since I was 17. So, I couldn't even imagine trying to be out there now.
Yeah.
Dating or figuring out. Of course, it's different as a teenager. So you're in that high school all day long. And,
sure.
You get close to people and it's experimental, but definitely I think there's some kids who are going to go and do just that thing, right? Where they're going to go and they're going to go ask somebody to the prom and that person's going to be like, no.
Yeah. Right. Or you go and
I don't like you. Right? Yeah. And it's going to be tough.
Well, the one thing that I see a lot are when the kids break up. I see that I had a pair of kids that they had been dating earlier in the school year. They broke up and they were in the same my class together.
Right.
And I don't know what the Sam Hill happened, but one year, just a few weeks ago, they transferred out, moved into a different class of mine.
Yeah.
So that way they didn't have to be with that other person. And It's kind of like, okay. Issues arise. And the reason why I bring this up, I know you always tease me about the articles I run across, but
I run across them too.
But I do a lot of social emotional reading. And anyway, I came across this lady. Her name is Elizabeth Spencer. And she has this website called Grown and Flown, where she talks a lot about her kids. She's a mom of 2 daughters. And she's been married almost as long as you have.
Wow.
25 years, she says. And in fact, she even jokes that she picked him up at church. So I guess that makes him extra good. But anyway, she had some advice on things to say as a parent to your child when they are breaking up, when they're going through the breaking up process, the broken heart, and how we as parents, a lot of times what we say and how we act can have a huge influence on how the kids handle it.
So now I want to guess. Because I'm thinking like I might know what the exact way to handle this is that would cause the child to definitely deal with this in the appropriate way.
And that is?
And that is that the parent should go to the child and say, suck it up, buttercup.
Yes.
Move on.
That's actually her number one thing.
Right.
Followed up by there's more fish in the sea.
Right. Whenever you hear that, everything gets better, right?
Oh, yes, it does. Yeah.
So obviously I jest, right? Like that's not going to be the best way to handle it.
No.
There should definitely be a lot more empathy.
And yeah.
You know, we've all gone through this. So helping somebody else through it is definitely what we want to do. So but I have no idea what she's saying.
Okay.
Because I'm playing blind on this so that you can tell me.
I can surprise you. Okay, well, she provides a variety of things. She calls it her top 10 list. I can say that when I went through my divorce, that was a big breakup,
right?
And so I can say with a certain degree of authenticity, these really do cut you pretty deep.
Okay.
I mean, crying out loud, I was 42. Mm-hmm. When I started my divorce, and it was kind of like, man, and I at least had a little perspective of having, dated other gals and broken up and stuff like that. But when you're 16, 17, maybe younger, and this is, your first real love, your first real crush, and it doesn't, go the way you want, it can be pretty devastating.
Sure.
And because you're thinking, ooh, this is Mr. or Miss Perfect, and we'll get married and we'll have a house with a white picket fence and 2.5 kids and a dog in the suburbs and all these other things or whatever might be flowing through your head.
I mean, we've been married for 32 years, but like in the 2 years previous to that, as we dated, we broke up 3 times.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for like 20 minutes, or an hour or a day, right? It was longer and it was painful.
And so that's where they're trying to say, we as adults, we as parents have the opportunity to really influence how our children can rebound from this. And the first thing that she suggests is stating to the kid, I'm sorry, and actually mean it.
That's
Look
awesome.
them square in the face and say, I am so sorry that this happened to you. And I like that because I think that's a good way to begin.
I think that's awesome because that's we talked in our previous episode about listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a way to acknowledge the pain that the person's having, but also not fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's important too.
Well, and a lot of times it can, it might not necessarily be something you did.
Right.
And so a lot of times you can simply say, look, it's not your fault.
But as a parent, you want to fix the pain.
True.
And you can't do that. You have to let them cope through it to some extent.
Yes. I think that it is important that you be there as a support network, but not as a fix and repair shop.
Right.
So no, I agree with you because one of the next things that she says is to say, well, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And I think this is where, as parents, our next step is to, especially if we got daughters, we want to go and beat the crap out of the boy. What'd you do to break my daughter's heart? And the idea is, well, one, no, put the keys back on the dresser.
Yeah.
You're not jumping in your vehicle.
I mean,
taking the
definitely
baseball
sometimes that limbic part of your brain, right, like kicks in. You get that base instinct that you want to do, right, and you probably want to fight that.
Well, exactly, because I think the best thing, and I think you just said it moments ago, listen. Just listen.
Yeah.
Let them vent. Let them cry. Remind them that it is a horrible situation. You might suggest, well, okay, it is painful right now, and it might hurt for a spell, but it's not the end of the world. But at the end of the day, your best bet is to say very little and hug them and hold them and let them blow their gasket on you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
and sometimes you want to, if they want you to come to the rescue, then you do that. I mean, I remember a time when I asked that, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And my daughter was in another state.
Yeah.
And what do you want to do? And she said, I want to come home now. Like she was going to get in her car and start driving states away. And I was like, you're too upset for that. We're not doing that. I said, this was like, I think this was 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Here in Texas.
Okay.
And she was on the East Coast. And I was on my phone with her, like with my AirPods in. And I was just like looking at my phone. 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my wife and I said, there's a flight at 3:30. I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to let her drive back by herself. Right. So I flew to that state and I proceeded to drive back. And this was a Saturday. I had to be to work on Monday. So this was,
I think I remember
tough,
that.
Right. And so, but sometimes if that's what she wanted, that's what I was going to do. Right. Like you need to be there for them for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
As to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Now, if I couldn't have afforded the flight, that might have been difficult.
Well, yeah.
But I would have tried to find somebody else to go with her or borrowed some money if I had to. I mean, I would do whatever, go to the ends of the earth for my children, those things. So, but you have to let them drive that process of what they want.
And I think that is where, this Miss Spencer was coming from. And I totally agree with it. Let them vent. I mean, you can remind them. In fact, this is our next thing, that this won't last forever. It sucks right now. And it's going to hurt for a spell. It might take days. It might take weeks.
Well, and that's tough for like a teen, especially to know,
yes.
right? Because their forever is a lot shorter than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You've been through this and you realize a year later, right? Like it's nothing. I mean, I tell students that are graduating, they get all bent out of shape about their GPA. And I'm like, in 6 months, you aren't going to care. And neither is anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. You worked all that hard time to get that. And it is valuable to a college for that moment. Mm-hmm. And then it's over, right? Like nobody cares anymore. Mm-hmm. They only care about you, what you do from that point forward. And so they just don't realize that life is long.
Yeah.
It is full. And you'll look back on a moment and be like, that was silly.
And that's kind of what they're saying here.
But as parents, we can't just dismiss it as silly.
No.
We have to realize that we were there once, and to them, this is very real. And they're in that moment, and it's hard to see the end of it.
And that's, because most of the time you think back, when are your earliest memories? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, at least for me, this turned out to be true, but most of the time, we really can't remember much before age 5.
Sure.
Now, I know some people say they can remember, and maybe you can't, congratulations, but science says most of the time our earliest memories go back to about age 5.
Most people who remember earlier than that are remembering pictures that they were shown.
Okay, could be.
Or videos.
Very likely.
These days.
And so if you are 17 years old and your earliest memory is age 5, you've got 12 years of history.
Yeah.
Well, you take somebody like you or I, 12 years is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a whole lot. So you're right. I like the way you say that's a perspective, because the next thing that she suggests, and in fact, they kind of go together, she says, ask him, do you want to try again?
And I think that's important. In our day and age, it was, get back up on the horse.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do it again.
Uh-huh.
And you're going to want to do that again. I mean, you mentioned that at 42, you were at the beginning of a divorce. I mean, I think to myself, my goodness, if I was 42 and at the beginning of a divorce, that would be my last relationship.
Oh, yeah.
At least my last marriage. Like I would be done.
And that's kind of where I was
especially
at.
if I spent all that time doing it and went through what you went through.
Uh-huh.
But and certainly in my 50s, like if something happened to my wife, I'm done. There's no way I'm doing that again.
Well,
so because we have such a long time together, but these kids, right? Like they spend 3 months with somebody. That seems like a long time in a 12-year span, or a 14-year, memory time span, or whatever.
Yeah,
and they think that's the end of the world. Like nobody else is going to want them. Right. And it's different for the different genders and all those things, but it's still tough for everybody.
Well, and that's the thing is she goes. Her next response would be, if you want to give this another go, what can we do now to help you get ready? And I thought that's kind of an interesting approach, because let's try again. So what can we do differently? What would we do the same? And I like this because it's very goal oriented, and I think what I guess I like a lot about it is it's also a distraction, because it's kind of like, okay, I want to date again. Well, yeah, I want to find somebody else. And this time around, I want somebody that actually does this, and I want somebody that does that.
Yeah.
Not that you ultimately, I will say that, Eric's mother was not into sports. And me, I'm a big sports guy.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm going to find somebody else that not only likes sports, but they're going to like some of the same things and same teams I do.
Yeah.
You want to know how well that worked out?
I don't think it did.
Sherry hates sports, and she definitely is not a KU fan like I am.
But I know she'll let you have a man. She will let you have a man cave.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got to put some, if
you'll be able to paint your house blue and red and whatever those colors are. Right?
Yeah.
Put a huge Jayhawk on the lawn.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure the neighbors won't even mind. I mean, you're in a cul-de-sac anyway.
Well, that's true.
But so I like this one.
Okay.
And what I like about it is that, all of this applies to all ages, right? We're talking about teens. But this applies not only to that, but it applies to other things.
Okay.
And so, at this point in time, some teens aren't involved in those relationships, but they are really upset that their favorite college that they had planned to go to for 10 years that their parents went to didn't accept them.
Yeah.
And that's crushing for some of them, right?
Oh.
That's the only place they applied. And then now they're like, what do I do now? And so, you gotta self-reflect on that and see, where it is, where you need to go. And, or maybe you're out of high school or you're just out of college. And so now you're looking for a job. And by golly, everybody goes through this. You go to multiple interviews and you don't get the jobs, right? And then eventually sometime you get a job, right? You've got to have some practice at doing the interview, a lot of times. So you get better at it as you go. And so after every one of them, it's a self-reflection of what can I do better? How did I approach that? And I think that this particular thing that she's mentioning leads you to that self-reflection piece.
Okay.
Which I think is so awesome. It's a metacognition kind of a thing, right?
Right.
I think that is so awesome. And I try to teach my seniors that, in school, and that's a skill that if people have that, then I think a lot of the social emotional stuff gets easier too.
Yes.
If you can self-reflect, self-assess, and make a change, have an action item to do something different, that's a huge skill that takes you much farther. So, this may be talking about relationships as teens or about, college applications or whatever, but I think it applies to adults too. So the adults listening, there's probably something that broke your heart, right? You went to the dealership and you couldn't buy that car.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't get the financing that you were hoping for, and now that favorite car that you just test drove, you're not going to get it. I mean, there's all kinds of heartbreaks in life.
And that's kind of what I like in her approach is that it can be dealing with our teenagers and it can be dealing with, with love, but it can deal with anything else because not only is her suggestions, and talking with them, do you want to give this another try? Yeah. The response is, the other question was, do you just want to be done with this?
Sure.
Do you just want to be done with whatever, again, we started with the idea of love, but it could be to, as you mentioned, just about anything else. Do you want to be done? And what I like about that question is the first response out of them might be, yeah. But if you explore that a little further, I think they're going to reach the conclusion of, no, I'm not done. Right. I don't want to give up. I do want to try again. And
absolutely.
That brings us to the next thing she talks about, which is, well, then what would that something else be? And would it be, what would this other person, be like? What kind of things? If you're talking about another college or university, okay, well then what else?
What are you looking for?
Exactly. And I like this because you're right. It's a change in your mind's approach to it. And so that's, again, I find that exceptionally fascinating. And I like this because you're right. You mentioned mental cognition.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely what it is because you're desperately trying to get the kid without being rude, disrespectful, or dismissing their feelings. You're helping them get to a different point.
Right.
And so that way you can ultimately get down to the question of something good will come out of this. which is another point she addresses, that, it's okay to feel like it's the end of the world right now.
Yeah.
Just understand that it will pass, and that, we'll try again. We'll maybe, try a different approach, take what worked and take what didn't.
Yeah.
And let's, like you said, do that self-reflection,
mm-hmm.
and let's explore. And so I don't know that I ever thought about it. I think I've gone through these processes.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I've actually put it in like she did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of neat. And we as adults, we as parents, I think it's kind of good if we can do something to this effect.
Yeah. I mean, you got to help, right? And you got to guide, and you got to get them to self-reflect. It's very important.
Well, yes. And one of the last things she gets to is that this experience isn't all who you are,
or any of it.
Yes, this is just a piece, but it's not all you are.
Right.
This relationship is not you in your entirety.
Right.
And I think that, you're right. When we think about our teenagers, having worked with them for so very long, you raised 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I helped raise 2. I can see where it becomes easy to fall into that trap of identity tied to this, the success or the failure.
I think any of us can do that in a relationship, right? We get tied to the identity of the other person. Like they're part of who we are, and that's like, without them, I'm nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not true. Like, that's not a healthy relationship. You are an individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can survive without the other person. You just don't want to. and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But you have to recognize that. Like, you would prefer to be with that person.
Mm-hmm.
But you can survive without them. And you can move on in life if they're not there. I mean, people can do that. There's plenty of people who've been married for 30 years and gotten divorced, and they do move on. And I can't imagine it. I honestly can't. But it happens, right? There's help for that, and there's people who can do that. And so moving on from a 3-month, fling in high school is definitely something doable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say it gets harder the more physical you get.
True.
Right.
True.
That creates a different kind of a bond.
Yeah.
But it's still possible.
Oh, absolutely. I will say that this last one, this identity tied to relationship, is something you mentioned. Divorce. Going through my divorce, I felt like, okay, this is going to label me. And being part of the divorce support group that I was, this was something that almost every one of us going through that group dealt with.
Right.
Is, well, who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
And because the idea of me being me was kind of a foreign concept. I haven't been me, just me, for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so helping our young kids, our young children, understand that they are separate from that relationship,
right,
or that desire, that, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It can be very instrumental in helping them get through this and be able to put the pieces back together and try again.
Yeah. It's all very important stuff, right? Like, you can't let external things like that affect your whole life. And these kids have their whole life ahead of them.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to know. And so they don't have that concept of time the same way. Mm-hmm. If you're 18 and graduating from high school, like, 36 isn't that far away.
Mm-mm.
And once you're 36, you're going to be like, wow, I was in high school 18 years ago. That was all silliness, right? Mm-hmm. All those things I went through didn't matter much.
Mm-mm.
And then as a parent, you can take those things and you can say, wow, I should have empathy for my kids on this. Like, they're going through some of the same things that I went through. How did my parents deal with it with me?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I deal with that maybe a little bit differently or the same?
Yeah.
If it was done well.
Yeah.
Right. And, what did I like about how they dealt with it? And what did I not like? And, you can kind of work from that. But it should always still come back to let the kids solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Guide them to do it. but let them solve it, especially at 18 or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if they're 10,
that's one thing.
There's a different dynamic. But when they're actually teenagers and trying to explore these relationships and practice with it and do those things, like that's what it is, right? It's practice generally.
Yeah.
And so they're all on both sides trying to work out, how do I have a relationship? What does that mean? You know, what are these feelings I'm having? How do I work through this? You know, and that's what everybody does. And then you get out of high school. Typically, you're not going to be with the person you were with in high school. I'm a rare exception, right? Because you go off to college and you kind of separate typically, and then you meet somebody else.
Yes.
So, I mean, these things are not permanent, right?
Not usually. And I totally agree with you. And the last piece of advice that she gives, I absolutely like.
Right.
She ends with 3 little words, the same 3 that we began with. Nice. And that is, I love you.
Oh, I thought it was suck it up. But
I
guess I love you is better. I mean, I started with suck it up. I don't know. But definitely suck it up is nothing. The other statement, I because a lot of times they're hysterical, right?
Yes.
And calm down is not a thing to say to anybody, right?
No, that's.
But I love you is very, very,
powerful.
It's a powerful phrase that I know we've talked about that phrase before in different contexts, but it's very powerful in a situation like this. It's very much it can bring down some walls, right? It just makes somebody feel comfortable, right? And you're still just listening.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't solve anything. You're just saying, "I love you." Like, I'm here for you. You tell me, right?
And that's, I guess, ultimately what I liked about this is the idea that the suggestions are asking some pointed, deliberate questions,
right?
But starting and ending with support and comfort,
right?
And it gives the elements necessary, I think, to help buoy, our kids to survive this issue and be able to handle it again a little more effectively, a little more efficiently when it happens again. Because these kinds of disappointments, these kinds of heartbreaks, they may happen at 16, 17, 18, but they are not the last.
Yeah.
So,
and this is the summer for, we're coming up on it, just for parents out there that have seniors in high school, right? Like there's prom that can cause heartbreak. There's graduation. A lot of kids are fearful about what's going to happen. That's some heartbreak, right? Because that's a big change in life. I go to school every day, and now that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be around all those people that I was around for a long time. That's can be somewhat difficult for teenagers, right? And then there's I'm going to be moving away to college, or it may be even harder. Now I got to get a job and support myself. And so those are some big things over the summer, right? That these young people have to deal with that are going to need a lot of support, and it's going to need to be empathetic kind of support. Don't solve the problem. Help them find the solution.
And that's
on their own.
I totally believe is very key. My parents pushed me a lot to figure this out on my own in a comfortable, supportive, nurturing environment, which made it easy.
And it made you more independent, so they didn't need to solve your problems.
Exactly. And I think that's, again, I guess maybe that's why I found what Elizabeth had to say on this very valuable and worth sharing with others.
Well, I think it's wonderful.
Anyway, that's all I got. So,
well, that was enough.
Okay.
For the moment.
Well, I guess I'll have to go find something else for next time.
We will definitely do more next.
All right. Well, then until then, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.